Welcome to our new series, the 200 Movie Challenge. Our goal this year is to watch 200 movies that we haven't seen yet. If you want to listen to the full podcast where this clip is from, the link will be in the description. Now enjoy today's movie. Speaking about movies that are probably rated lower than 79%, my next movie. So Soda, when we did this last fall, when we were trying to do like the Olympic grading and all that shit,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
one of the movie,
6.8. Yeah.
whatever. We're like, let's just do it. We'll talk about it later. But
Yeah.
one of the movies I saw, or I was going to do for that, was 2017's Escape Room. Now, that movie was utter shit. I think I ranked it 3.1 because it had some cool kills in it, but none of the
hmm
characters were likable. Obviously these people get trapped in an escape room and it turns out people are dying. Why are they there? But
hmm
none of the characters in that one were likable, because they're all sleeping with each other. But the kills are kind of cool. Now I say that because in 2019 there was also a movie called Escape Room, and I said, "Fuck it, let's just see if this one's not as bad." I will say this movie was a little bit better, Soto. This there is a little bit more of a point to it. Um, so yes, we follow this one girl who, she survived a plane crash, and she's just living her life, but she doesn't like to go out and try new things. She's very sheltered, and what basically our boss is
hmm
like, go do something that you've never done before, and she gets this box from him, and she solves the puzzle box, and it's like a ticket to like one of the best escape rooms ever. And obviously she meets five or six other people, I forget like the exact number, and again, kind of like the first one, they find out, oh shit, we can really die in this. And they think it's obviously fake at first until the first person dies. So yeah, there is a little bit more story to this than the 2017 one, but I'm gonna say there's not much more story. But if they escape, they get ten thousand
So
dollars. So that's kind of like the
I'm
big argument.
confused. Is it is this the same movie?
No,
Like
nope, totally
what?
different movie. Same concept, same fucking concept. So in 2017, and
What?
this girl, she's trying to, her fiance, and she brings her friends, but then her fiance, again, the cheating stuff, which we just talked about in fall, so they just are against each other, and it's just, you never get a full answer. This one, basically, you find out
Hmm.
kind of similar to Belko experiment, almost like Hunger Games, is that people are watching them and are betting on who will win. And each kind of situation, they get different kind of a theme.
Oh, okay.
So
Yep.
I mentioned she survived a plane crash. They find out that each one of them are sole survivors of a very huge accident where or something has
My
happened to maybe other people where
lost.
so the idea is like, well, if they got lucky once, can they get lucky again? So again, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that that is a very good story measure, but again, they put more effort into the story. The kills in the rooms were a lot better than the 2017 one. So I was a little bit more interested, but yeah, it can kind of like fall. It got
Oh
boring
man.
real quick.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so yeah, obviously, there's an end, but you find out there's more to it. It's not like, they ended like, well, what the fuck's going on?
Oh,
And there is a sequel. I think it's called 2021 Escape Room, like Tournament of Champion. I don't know for sure. I did not write it down, so I do not have the subtitle. And if that becomes free this year, so I will see it because I'm like, well, I gotta fucking see where this continues. So there is an actual sequel
yeah.
to this.
Tournament of
It
Champions.
is called. All right, so I was
Yeah.
right. I wasn't 100
Yeah.
percent sure as I
Escape
was.
Room Tournament of Champions. I'm looking at it right now. It's rated 52% on Rotten
Oh
Tomatoes,
my
but
god, it's actually 50.
75%.
I did not think it would be that high. I don't think
It's
either.
51 is 52, but yeah, it's middle of the road. Escape Room Tournament of Champions is a sequel to the box office hit psychological thriller that terrified audiences around the world. Yeah, so six people find themselves locked in another series of escape rooms, slowly uncovering what they have in common to survive and discovering they've all played the game
Yep.
before.
Again, kind of like
Yeah, so
it's the once it comes free. Now, I will say this movie did one thing that I fucking hate. I hate this trope, and I don't get it. And it works if again done right. So they start
course.
off, obviously showing this guy trying to escape, and things are coming, and you kind of almost like like a horror movie. You know, you see the first kill, does not matter for the rest of the movie. That I'm okay with. The problem was like they show this, and then you see that this character who dies is now part of. So they show the end. So you're like, well, you know, this kid is going to survive up until that point. You know why?
Mm-hmm.
There is no, and there is nothing that it did not serve any purpose outside of like look at this escape room, almost like Star Wars style, you know, when they're trapped in like that garbage chute, like the walls are caving in. So it was a cool fucking scene. Do not get me wrong, because you're frantically with him trying to survive. But I'm like, why? There is no story point to it. You know, like well, like in Usual Suspects, you know how you kind of get that little shot at the beginning and like someone's spine by the barrel. You know, they
Yeah.
show just enough, and then you see that at the end where it all makes sense. So, but they show
Hmm.
this, and you're like, well, now you see this kid's part of this escape room. You're like, well, fuck it, you know he's gonna get to that room, like so you know none of these near death escapes are it's gonna kill him until he gets to whatever that room. So I hate it.
Right.
Like again, there was just no point, and I wish you know it was just for a sake to show how cool the room was to get people hooked. Which, but then they could have just gone to the next group, like just show a cool kill, you know, whatever, and then go to the next group, and that would have been fine. But no, once I saw him, like, oh, wasn't he just? I'm like, oh fuck me. Like I was kind of bummed. I'm like, why the fuck? Um, so
Hate that.
it was like I said, there was enough intrigue. The rooms were cool. The way they did it was cool. The deaths were kind of fun too. So there was a. I will admit, so like I said, this was a lot better than that 2017 one, and I think that's why it was a success because the way they did it. I don't want to say obviously realistic, but like just it was just intense. But I don't know. I mean, it's still kind of ranked low. But I will see the sequel, you know. But right now, this I put it at 29. It's right underneath Wings. Um,
29. Okay.
29 above, you know, so it's still low. I like, you know, I don't know if I'll ever watch this again, though. I am gonna watch. I'm just curious how the fuck they could do a sequel. I mean, I know from what you
What would
just
you?
told me, you know, they're gonna get all like these
Yeah.
past winners, which I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. Um, we'll see, we'll see. But again, I think this one worked better because these characters were a little bit more likable. They were a little bit more fleshed out than that 2017 Escape Room. But like I said, there's just you know there wasn't much. You know, obviously though when you're watching, you're like, yeah, this is cool, but it's a little they made the rooms a little unrealistic. Excuse me, it's not like something comes out of the wall and just you know Indiana Jones shoots a dart at you or something. You know, they're like, there's no way. You're like, there's no way this could fucking happen. I know it's a movie. Do not get me wrong, and I go along for the ride. Which later on I'll tell you a movie I went for along for the ride for. But yeah, so no, it still ranks low for me. But
Yeah.
if the sequel becomes free. I will see it this year out of sheer curiosity because I'm like, all right, I'm here. Let's just see if this is better. And I know you just read the reviews and somehow it's the same or a little bit better. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
again,
Well, I mean, would you recommend it to me if I wanted to rent this at Blockbuster?
well, let's see. You personally, no, knowing somewhat kind of your type of movies, but we always have those people that like those bad horror movies. You know, I'd be like,
Hmm.
you know, I wouldn't say this is a popcorn flick, but you know what? Like, hey, you just want a mindless thing? Sure. You know, I don't know if you personally would like it, Soto, because I know how much you love escape rooms and puzzles and all that shit, because you know they're your favorite.
Oh God. The idea of a live escape room to me is one of the most boring things
Oh,
that I could possibly think of. It's something I want no part of. I'm like, they're like, you have to solve puzzles to get out of here. I'm like, in real life, no, thank you. I'm good.
oh yeah, no,
I'm
Jill
not
and
gonna
I love
spend
escape
money.
rooms. We've done a few.
Oh,
You know, it's so it can be fun, especially if you have a big group. It helps a lot more because then you have more sets of eyeballs. I just know from your video game
my God,
experience,
no.
puzzles and shit. That's like I said, it's not your
I don't
forte.
like it, man.
So yeah, I would not
Ah,
suggest it to you, but others I'd just be like, yeah, if you want a cheap horror
wow.
film, go ahead because that's kind of what it is. But like I said, I was in it for the ride. I'm just not saying
Yeah.
I loved it, but you know, like I said, we've seen a lot worse, and yeah, you know, I will see the sequel if it whenever it becomes free. If I'm hoping to this year so we can continue this story and end this story, kind of like Terrifier 3. You know it's coming,
Oh,
you just
I
don't know
know. I
when.
know.